Good evening and welcome to a very special March Madness Women's edition of SportsZone. This is going to be a really fun show. We got a whole panel here ready to talk NCAA Women's March Madness. So starting with Adam C. visiting from Mean Green Mania, Oscar Chavez, John Phillips. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, Nash Lowry, our awesome sports director, Kenzie Neely, and Ian Sparkman. So we're going to get into it. We have a whole bracket to get to.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Like,
you ready,
real.
Nash?
All the formalities can friggin' go.
Let's go.
You're ready to be back on SportsZone, huh?
Yes,
He's been waiting for this moment, but we have a lot to get to. But first of all, how are you guys feeling? March has started. The men's kicked off today. It's been crazy already. How are you guys feeling?
Clemson
It's March.
stinks.
Yes, that's fair.
sucks.
McNeese. I picked them last year. Of course, when I don't pick them this year, and then now they win. So that's just sort of the way of the tournament. But for the women's side of things, we're not started quite yet. We're still in the first four, trying to get through it. But here, we're ready to predict it all. We're ready to break it down. And I'm just going to start from over here, Adam. How are you feeling about this first Spokane 1 region?
So this Spokane region right here, what I'm feeling, I feel UCLA just takes this to town. Right. I mean, I don't even think it's going to be that competitive. I'm sorry, that might be a hot take, but to me, UCLA is that team. They're very spread out. They have a very spread out attack player-wise with 8 different players averaging 5 or more points per game, as well as Lauren Betts, who I think is going to cause so many problems for teams trying to work the post, averaging 2.9 blocks per game and one of the top 5 blockers in the entire country.
I agree that UCLA are the favorites in the region, but not even a challenge. I disagree with that. I mean, you have NC State led by their 3 guards, and that is a trio that you don't want to mess with. I mean, they have proven before that they can perform in the tournament, and UCLA probably beats them because Lauren Betts is such a monster inside, like you said, but I can see NC State pulling off that win.
I only see UCLA dominating all throughout the tournament just because Baylor's really the only one in that region that has the size to be able to compete with the Betts in the post. So.
Yeah, they have Erin Evonleh, who, I mean, I loved at Colorado. They matched up in the Pac-12 with UCLA, but she hasn't been as good this year, so I don't know if she will be as good at stopping Lauren Betts, but they definitely have the size.
Yeah, there's a lot of good competitors here. I mean, we were talking about UCLA. They've been so strong all year. Them and USC, it just feels like that rivalry's gone back and forth. But LSU, NC State, we have some other competitors as well. So over here, how are you guys feeling? Is this going to be a runaway, or do you think we could see some competition?
I mean, whenever you look at it, especially Adam's point, I mean, very, very much UCLA. Who can stop UCLA in this one, obviously? You know, it comes down to UCLA will most likely clear that side of the bracket. I want to talk about Baylor versus GCU eventually, but that's a really good one to highlight. But that's about all they've got, like with UCLA in their way. You know, like NC State is down all the way at the other side, which is kind of the point, but it's a little bit unfortunate of a 2 seed. I want to know what y'all think about that. Like NC State being the 2 seed being so far away from UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree whenever it comes to that. Whenever I was talking about that side of the bracket, the thing I was really looking at the most was definitely LSU. I think that's definitely going to be a good competition, especially for UCLA later down the line. But NC State being so far away from them and playing is kind of heartbreaking, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about kind of the unfortunate of the seeding. I mean, we have one side of the bracket right now has Texas, TCU, and Notre Dame all in the same region, which is absolutely crazy, right?
Yeah,
like that's,
we're going to get there. That's going to be.
Yeah, like you want to talk about that versus what we're seeing here with UCLA. It's definitely very top heavy. I think there's some good depth in here though if you really look at it. I know we're going to talk some more Cinderella specifically later, but you know, you look at a team like Harvard. Harvard might be able to make a little bit of noise. You know, I don't think they're going to win it. I don't think they're going to stand up to UCLA necessarily.
That's crazy.
But hey, you know, like there's going to be some good competitive games in here. It's going to be still a fun region to watch.
Yeah, there's been a lot of smoke around Harvard. Like you said, we're going to get to some Cinderellas a little bit later, but just want to go around. Which of these matchups are you guys most excited about?
If I want to talk about potential matchups, I'm looking at the second round here between LSU and Florida State because LSU is a team that I am not sure is going to be like most 3 seeds are. Like, I am kind of afraid for them. They've lost 3 out of the last 4. They're starting to lose a lot of momentum heading into this tournament, but I don't see them losing to the Aztecs. However, with Florida State, the nation's leading scorer, Tanaya Latson,
sounded
scoring
out.
25.9 points per game, and Michaela Tipson, who is a top 3 rebounder in the nation. I could see them upsetting LSU. Because also LSU has the top rebounder in the nation.
Yeah,
so I think it'll be a really fun matchup.
Florida State's very, very confident in this one. I believe that, I mean, if I just want to double check here, but they have 2 wins over Creighton this season. And not saying that Creighton is like, totally down there. They are a 9 seed. Yes, they are the dog in their first matchup. But beating Creighton twice, like that takes a lot. Beating the same team twice, especially a program like Creighton, that takes a lot, Oscar.
Well, talking about Florida State and how good they are, I got the best matchup being Florida State against George Mason in the first round. I want to see the greatest defense in the NCAA go against Florida State and see how they compete. George Mason, not the heaviest offensive team. They don't score a whole lot of points, but hey, they're going to stop you on defense. I want to see how they fare against that kind of talent.
Speaking of LSU being upset, I don't think they get upset because I think they have too much talent with Anissa Morrow and Flau'jae Johnson, but they've been a little injured, a little knocked up coming into the tournament. So I think once they get to a UCLA, it could be really interesting to see, will LSU be the team of old? Will they be the Anissa Morrow we saw at DePaul that was one of the best players in the country, or will UCLA take that win? I'm very interested to see that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's also good that you mentioned that because Johnson is going to be, I believe, will be coming off an injury heading into this tournament. Mm-hmm. So that first game back, anything can happen really. Like San Diego State, in my opinion, could upset the Tigers. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. I am not saying clip that, but it's very possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And another team I want to talk about is NC State. We mentioned a little bit earlier, just for a 2 seed, they just feel, like we said, a lot farther than, say UCLA is. So here, I'm a huge Vermont Catamounts fan. I gotta say it. I don't expect an upset here. It'd be a dream for me, but here, NC State, I don't know. I just don't know how far they can go because of the competition in this bracket. You have these teams. We talked about LSU, even Baylor at the 4 seed. I'm not sure how it's going to all break down, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about NC State. How are you guys feeling about that?
Weird.
Take it away, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I'd see NC State as kind of a non-factor in the tournament, to be honest with you. That's how strongly I feel about it. I don't think that they're going to be able to compete with UCLA on this side of the bracket. I think once you start getting to the other side of the bracket and talking about teams like South Carolina and Notre Dame and USC, I don't think they're going to compete with any of those teams. They might not even make it past Harvard. Once again, bring it back to Harvard.
Yeah, bring it back to Harvard.
Talking about NC State, though, I feel like the most valuable thing about them is their consistency. This is a team that made the Final Four last year in both programs. Like, that's extremely, extremely difficult to do. And it's the level of consistency. But now, like, the way that women's ball has just been trending, consistency is not the way that you win these games. You win it by having explosivity, and just being so explosive whenever you're playing the game, high pace, high scoring, and everything like that.
I think about that explosivity with NC State. They have that freshman Tilda Triggers from Sweden, and I think she's really the X factor because UCLA has that size with Lauren Betts, which is a tough matchup for any team. But if she has been playing like she's been playing in the regular season, she's been one of the best defensive players. I think that she could really take over the tournament for NC State.
Yep, absolutely. And now I want to get into, we're just about to get to Cinderellas, and we keep mentioning Harvard, so I'm like,
right?
It's got to be mentioned. Here we go. So Michigan State, number 7 against 10-seeded Harvard. It just feels like something might be brewing here. I don't know. How are we feeling? Take it away.
Okay, so I want to take this one away because I don't think that Michigan State has the power whatsoever to take on Harvard. Harvard is pretty much having their best season of all time. They've had a high 24 wins on the season. They're coming into this tournament blistering hot. This is actually the first time, whenever you look at Harvard and you think of Ivy League teams, you see it in the men's game too, especially with Yale right now looking to be the favorite over Texas A&M. Yep. But when you look at this matchup between Harvard and Michigan State, and you see I really want to talk about the strength of schedule.
Yes.
That isn't an issue for the Ivy League this year. This is the first time in March Madness history that there have been 3 Ivy League teams to make the tournament, with the number 1 seed, Columbia, being in the first 4 I believe, in this tournament. They play for the 11 seed. I think that game might actually be happening right now. But 3 teams fighting for it. And Harvard is looking to do that now. They're coming off of I believe, a 3-game win streak. They did not lose. They won their conference tournament. With a extremely, really good game against Columbia where they took that one away. I'm very, very confident in Harvard. I think they make it to the Sweet 16 and they only lose to LSU. Really.
Okay, there we go.
And,
So
and I mean,
Harvard-
you're talking about the strength of schedule too.
Yes.
Even outside of the Ivy League, they beat 3 Power 4 teams this year. They beat Indiana, they beat Boston College, and they beat Northwestern. They have a phenomenal individual player in Harmony. Right?
Yes.
She's fantastic. And so I 100% agree with you. I think that Harvard absolutely has what it takes to make it to the Sweet 16. I don't think they're going to lose to Michigan State.
Yeah, one thing I was concerned about, and Adam, I want to beef with you on this one, is your depth, because we've been going back and forth about their depth. So how do you?
So here's the thing I see about their depth, right? Harmony Turner is a legit star, 22.1 points per game. I don't think there's any argument about that. Elena Rodriguez, a great supporting piece with 11.7 points per game. And then it drops off because then their sixth man has 9.7, and then it drops to just everyone is 5 or 4 points per game, and then it just keeps decreasing. And my problem with a team like that is that if one player is having a bad night, is off, gets hurt, what happens to the rest of the team? Can the rest of the team pick that up? Especially in a single elimination tournament. A team like this, it's very difficult to win in a single elimination tournament, especially like March Madness.
I definitely get that point, but I actually think having that one star that carries your team kind of helps you in March. You have that Harmony Turner who can take over games. If you're a regular mid-major with a lot of depth, none of your players are really good enough to match up against the power conferences. But if you have a Harmony Turner, she could play in a Power 4 conference. So I think having that piece that can go off any night makes those depth concerns not as big a deal.
I'm definitely with John on this one because I mean, it's one game, right? You have one game. So I don't want to say that you can't have that experience where, oh, what if Harmony is not there? You know, what if somebody is not there? It's only one game. So it literally have to be that whole storyline develops in a single quarter for Adam's point.
Yeah,
So
and
how about
here's-
in past recent championships where Iowa hasn't been able to fully get the national championship because they're leaning off star power with Caitlin Clark, right? They matched up against the South Carolina team that had depth, the same point Adam's talking about,
Yep.
and it showed out because they won the past 2 championships.
But if we talk about in Iowa,
repeat.
we see the players now that Caitlin Clark has left, and they really haven't stepped up. The Addison O'Grady's, the Hannah Stolke's. So I don't really think that Caitlin Clark dragged that team further than they should have gone. I don't think that they underperformed. I think having that star made Iowa perform better than they could have.
I just think depth is not a factor when it comes to this conversation. I'm sorry.
It's fair. It's fair. And
depth.
Harmony Turner, I mean, it's been so incredible. Put up a 40-piece during the conference tournament. We've seen what she can do. And unfortunately, we got to move on because, I mean, I just feel like we could talk about this forever. But we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about the Birmingham 2 region coming up next.
Craving something fresh, flavorful, and made just for you? Look no further than Avesta, your go-to destination for a delicious, full-service dining experience. Dive into our customizable omelets, expertly crafted by our talented cook Jonathan, who guarantees every bite is perfection. All our dishes are handmade, prepared with only the freshest ingredients. Explore our assembly line where you can choose from any of our globally inspired dishes, or customize your plate. It's that easy. And let's not forget dessert. Indulge your sweet tooth with treats from Clark Bakery. With convenient payment methods including card or flex, it's the perfect dining spot for any occasion. Quench your thirst with our wide selection of drinks. Just hand your drinking card to our friendly waiter, and they'll bring your beverage of choice right to your table. When you're done savoring every last bite, our attentive staff will whisk away your tray. Enjoy the peaceful ambiance as you dine in, or use our takeout option for a meal on the go. Avesta.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, once again joined by my incredible panel here. And now we're going to get into the Birmingham 2 region of this tournament. I mean, it felt like we could have talked about Spokane forever, but we got to move on, right? So we got a great-looking tournament bracket here. I mean, look at this graphic up here. Look at these teams.
I'm looking.
Look at this. Look at this. South Carolina, Duke. It's just so stacked. Once
Shout out
again,
to
it just
Jackson
feels
Barrett.
like there's so much that can happen here. Which team are you guys most excited to watch in this one?
The team that I'm most excited to watch, honestly, is Duke. I feel like they have the most depth out of this entire tournament. I mean, just talking about their bench players, we're talking about Okonenwa at the 6, Vanessa De Jesus, Tina Mayer, Jaden Donovan. So many good players. They can both play defense and also hit from beyond the arc. And I feel like a team like that you're going to find really hard to stop in the tournament.
I mean, I agree. I think that Duke does have that depth, and this is a region where we were talking about it in the last one, it was weaker, but I think this is really the weakest top-end bracket. I think there's not much star power. Like South Carolina, great team. They don't really have that star. Duke, no star. UNC, no star. I think that the depth could be the winning factor here in this region.
You don't think that there's any stars on Vanderbilt?
I mean,
Like,
true,
dude,
true that. I forgot about Vanderbilt.
I don't
Yeah,
think he
that's
said
the biggest star in the
Vanderbilt, to be
region.
fair.
None of the top teams,
Cinderella.
I'll say.
Yeah.
None of the top teams have that star player that can lead them. So Vanderbilt could make some noise with Michaela. I mean,
And these teams, they're very, like we've said, they're deep. They have, 6-man's leading, the
South
teams
Carolina
in
and
scoring,
Duke, yeah.
both of them. And that's going to be something sort of different. Typically we have these stars. We were talking about Caitlin Clark. We were talking about Harmony. We see this. This, a little bit different for these teams. How are you guys feeling about these teams going deep with their depth?
I feel all right about it. I mean, I kind of agree that it's a bit of a weaker region. But, South Carolina is going to be exceptional. I think even a team like West Virginia is extremely good defensively, and I think that we might see that play out very well for them in the tournament. Obviously, they're probably going to have a matchup with North Carolina in the round of 32. But I like West Virginia quite a bit. I like JJ Quinterly. She's their leading scorer. I think that there's some stuff to watch out for in this region for sure.
I think one storyline to follow that I think will be fizzled out quickly, and normally that's not what you do in this situation. You don't follow a storyline that loses within literally one round. But I just want to highlight North Carolina's path to even sniff the Final Four, sniff the Elite Eight, anything. They win their first matchup against Oregon State. I really don't have any problem with them doing that. But after that, West Virginia, Duke. West Virginia, then Duke or Vanderbilt, or maybe Oregon for a chance. I don't know. Really, Duke or Vanderbilt. And then after that, you have to meet South Carolina just to make it out of your own spot. And North Carolina is just in such a bad spot with this 3 seed.
Yeah, with nothing but young players and then a lot of transfers, I don't see that happening, especially with South Carolina. I got them winning the region. And with that three-headed monster in the post, we're talking about Chloe Kitties, Sania Fegan, and Joyce Edwards, the freshman, six lady off the bench. She could just do it all.
Yeah, I heard some West Virginia love over on this side of the couch. I don't think they make it out the first round. I know it's a crazy take.
Why don't you stay on your own? Then I'm good with you that you're over there. Don't even come over.
Columbia in the 11th seed, we talked about them earlier. The Ivy League, we've seen the evolution these past couple of years. They've become a legit mid-major conference with 3 bids this year, and last year 2 bids. I think Columbia is a really, really good team. They're the 6th best offensive rebounding team in the country, and that's something that really helps in March to clean up your own misses and generate second chances. So I could see them beating West Virginia in that second round, even though I like West Virginia a lot.
Okay, how are you guys feeling about West Virginia? You think that's justified?
Listen, I'm still standing on what I said, all right? I think they're really good defensively, and I think that matters a lot in tournament play. I think it really does. I think, we're always talking about scoring and how efficiently teams can score, but if you can really get in the way of a team's leading score, if you can come up with that good defensive plan and really stifle an offense, then that's going to go a long way in tournament play like this.
Completely agree. It's going to be a great matchup round 1.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of good matchups. So I want to just go around like we did last time. Which matchup are you guys most excited to watch?
I like Utah and Indiana. This one is I think it's the one that is most volatile here. The Utah Utes have been doing absolutely amazing going into this back part of the season. They've had really, really key wins, and now going into this matchup versus Indiana. Okay, so I'll give you all a funny story. Whenever both of these brackets first came out, I saw a bunch of stuff on social media on how Indiana didn't make the tournament. And I was like, what do you mean, guys? They're literally the 9th seed. I didn't even know that they were talking about the men. That's how dominant this Indiana women's team has been. So I feel like that's a really, really good matchup in a pocket right there that'll be really, really good for Friday, and then just gets completely snuffed out the next day by South Carolina, unfortunately.
Yeah, we've seen some good Indiana-South Carolina matchups in the past, but this year is not going to be a repeat of that. But that first round matchup should be really good.
I will say, as a Tar Heel fan myself, I'm looking at the Sweet 16. I'm biased. I want North Carolina Duke in the Sweet 16. I want to embarrass Duke again, even though North Carolina's not making it past the round of 32.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a hopeful Tar Heel fan this year, but that's a game I would really like to see. And I'm also very interested in the potential South Carolina-Maryland matchup because I think I think Maryland would shock the world that night. And as Jake Levine on Mean Green Mania says, clip it.
I have a different type of shock with Maryland. I don't think they make it past the first round.
They're they're very injured.
Yes.
Yes?
And I think they faced Norfolk State in the first round, and this isn't your typical HBCU. This is the highest seed an HBCU has gotten in recent history, and they have a legit pro in Diamond Johnson. She is going to go to the WNBA at some point. She's going to play minutes there, and they get so many steals. They are going to create chaos, and to have that star player in that chaos, that's a recipe for an upset to me.
Yeah, so you started us off, and I got to say it. I have Norfolk State. I mean, I'm sorry, I got to agree with John here. So here we go. Let's start the Cinderellas. I think that they really have a chance here. Maryland's been struggling a little bit as of late. I think Norfolk State takes advantage of it. How you guys feeling?
And it's in Maryland, which is it's a home game for Maryland, but Norfolk State not that far. It's not.
Nope.
There's going to be some support there for them.
Let's hear it, Adam.
I will say though, I actually have Norfolk State on here as one of my potential upsets as well. As he said, Diamond Johnson is a proper star. I mean, when you watch her, you know that she's going to take over. You know that she's going to throw down.
She shines.
Wow.
But another person that I actually want to look at is her supporting cast member, Njane Richardson, who is averaging 15 points per game, and he's super skilled. Anytime that Diamond is not having a good night, Richardson always steps up. You'll see 20 pieces. You'll even see a 25 piece every once in a while. And I think that they have a lot of potential to go, and they're coming in with a 19-game winning streak going into this tournament.
Yeah, they dropped this game against Michigan that we're seeing here, which was a very big stunner for Maryland. It's definitely not the momentum you want to go into the tournament with. But like you said, 19-game win streak, and 19. One of your losses is Michigan. Big whoop. Like that's if you're gonna lose one game, it's like, okay, yes, it's Michigan.
And get that, and get this. That's not even the highest win streak going into this tournament. The highest one is Green Bay with the 22-game win streak, and the only demerits that I have on them as a team right now is efficiency, because they only have a 43% field goal percentage as a team, and I think like a 25% three-point percentage. But they can win games, and by God, they can play defense.
Yeah, they absolutely do. So you saying Green Bay's going to beat Alabama here? You calling it?
I don't know about all
Clip
that.
it. I don't know about all
Say
that.
yes,
You want the
but
smoke?
if Green Bay were to beat Alabama, I can't say I'd be shocked.
Okay. How
I
are you
think
guys
we're
feeling?
downplaying
Green
a
Bay?
little bit on what Vanderbilt
Green
can
Bay
do.
basketball?
I was hoping for Alabama, but I'm big of an SEC girl myself. I mean, I'm here for the Gamecocks only all day, every day. Me and Don Staley are like this. I feel like it. But, I mean, if I'm choosing like a Cinderella, I don't know if it's really a Cinderella, but I would say Oregon, because I think that Oregon and Duke together, I think that's going to be a really good game. I think a lot of people are thinking that Duke's just going to crush it, make it all the way to the end, but I don't think so.
I think Vandy beats Oregon
Oh,
in
yes.
the first
Yes.
round.
I said that too.
As I have as all right, you have the highest scoring duo in the country in Michaela Blakes and Camille Pierre. They combine for 44 points per game. Include that X factor in Yana Moore, the senior guard, and I think Vanderbilt's giving Oregon a run for their money.
Michaela Blake's next Juju Watkins.
Yeah, how do they match it against Duke, though?
I kind of like it. I mean, I think that Duke ultimately, they have Toby Fournier leading them, that freshman, another freshman star, and they have really good defense, a lot of depth. I think that ultimately there'll be too much talent for Vanderbilt, but like you said, highest scoring duo in the nation, they could definitely take over that game and win that game.
I mean, if it's only one game and you have two women who score 50 points just between the two of them, like that's pretty much the minimum that these teams score. Like if you score 50 points with just two people, literally all you have to do is add 3, and then I'm stealing your team if I'm making a bracket.
If they can compete with against Duke's defense and be able to minimize the effect of Duke's depth, I think Vanderbilt, you could honestly see an Elite 8 run.
Elite 8 run.
I could see a deep run from them as well.
I mean, really, they could be like this year's heroes.
Yeah, the 7th seed has only ever made the Final Four twice, but I think Vanderbilt can make it.
Ooh,
All right,
Final
here
Four
we go.
call.
Final Four.
Hard to bet
Yeah.
against Don Staley, but
I have Vanderbilt beating Oregon, but after that, oh man, that's a lot to live up to. So that's a pretty good way to say it. How are you guys feeling? Do you think that can really be the Cinderella run, or anyone else you're looking towards?
I actually just want to go to South Carolina just to speak on it really, really quickly. South Carolina, do they make it to the finals?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I say
No,
yes.
they don't. No, they don't.
I say yes.
In my
UCLA,
world,
Lauren
they
Betts.
win. And I want clip it. Whoever
Clip
said
it.
Clip it. In my world, they win. Don Staley, we're taking it to the top, baby.
I gotta
Don
agree with
Staley's
you.
number
I
one
gotta
fan.
agree with you.
Yes.
Don Staley, what she's been able to do, Cardoso leaving, no matter who she has on that squad, she finds
makes
a way to make
team.
it happen. And
Every
that
single year she makes a team, and we don't
Yes.
see that a lot in like women's coaches. And she proves that she's one of the best to ever touch a court. I love Dawn Staley, and what she did with South Carolina this year, with losing a lot of good players, she still was able to take them all the way here, and I think that she's going to take it to the end.
Yep, she's absolutely changed the game. And for us, we're going to change once again and head back over to Spokane for region number 4.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroid can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and is hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
Hey, Alex. This guy on the internet says he wants to give me money.
That sounds suspicious.
What do you mean?
Typically, strangers who promise you money on the internet have their own best interest in mind. They often use bounced checks, which will disappear shortly after depositing, but not before they've asked for some money in return.
So he doesn't really want to spoil me.
No.
Well, then what should I do?
The best way to handle it is to block and report the suspicious message, or even consult local law enforcement if you've already fallen victim.
So I guess we aren't going to Key West for spring break.
No.
Welcome back to our Sports Zone March Madness special. Once again, I'm joined by Adam C., Oscar Chavez, John Phillips, Nash Lowry, Kenzie Neely, and Ian Sparkman. And now we're going to get back over to Spokane in region number 4. And this one, perhaps one of the most stacked regions in this entire tournament. When you have UConn and USC in the same region, oh man, that's going to be exciting. So how are you guys feeling about this region? Who are your favorites, and what are your favorite matchups?
This is the best one.
It's gotta
just
be, right?
By far,
Definitely.
this is the best region.
Gonna
Like,
commit the
Spokane
whole-
is about to get blessed with absolutely amazing quality ball coming in.
Yeah, it looks we might see UConn and USC so early on in the tournament.
What do you mean? In the Final Four? Or
but
in
they're
the,
gonna be-
sorry,
they're-
in the
they're
Elite
gonna
Eight?
be like a
Yeah.
national championship.
Yeah,
In
I
the
feel bad.
finals
I
of
feel bad
this
for USC.
form,
I mean,
yeah.
USC with Juju Watkins, this could have been their
Exactly.
breakout year. They make the national championship, and now they have to face Paige Beckers and
Paige
UConn. I mean,
Beckers.
like one of the only teams I'd take over USC. I mean, at the UConn, you can't bet against Gino Auriemma.
No, you
Sarah
cannot.
Cannot.
No, you can never.
Oh.
And Paige
Never.
Beckers, better than Caitlin Clark. Better, she is the best player in
I
college
agree.
basketball.
Yes.
I will agree with that.
Paige
Crazy
Beckers is
statement,
a
but I'll agree.
stud. You have to go with UConn.
And
in
they
this
haven't
region.
won a national championship since 2016, but
It's
I
been
think
too
this
long.
is the year. I
Been
think
too
they're
long.
due. They're due, right?
Absolutely.
They're
I
due.
know they're hungry.
They're due.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it certainly feels like they're due because now Paige Beckers, we know how incredible she's been throughout her entire college career, already having her jersey hung up in their Hall of Fame basically before she's even done. And now, I mean, to finish it off as a fifth-year sort of super senior, I mean, it just feels poetic. But Juju Watkins, USC, can't count him out. Obviously, the superstar sophomore. It's not going to be an easy path. Absolutely, with this region. I mean, just looking at the board. How are you guys feeling about their competition and anyone else you think can make a run?
Well, USC has had the highest level of competition, barring literally Texas, I think, and South Carolina. Out like that, those are the only ones that have faced a harder schedule than them. So that's what I'm talking about. Like USC is going to look at this whole bracket and think baby food. Like they going up against Michigan here. We were talking about Michigan earlier. If you're going to lose one, you lose one to Michigan. Well, I don't believe USC did that at all. So going into this one, they're going to absolutely breeze through their entire top of the bracket, and they'll meet UConn in the final.
Let's not sleep on Michigan too much. We were talking about freshman stars throughout this. Swords on Michigan is one of the best freshmen in the country, and they're going to make some noise in a year or two. It's not this year, and I agree. Kiki Iriafen, a transfer from Stanford on USC, it's going to make them run through the top of that region for sure. They are the best team up there.
You want to talk about other contenders in this region, though? Are we sleeping on Oklahoma a little bit? What do y'all think?
I like Reagan Beers a lot.
I love Reagan Beers.
I love
great.
Reagan Beers. She's great.
Yeah.
She was great at Oregon State, but I don't love the team surrounding them. There's just something about Oklahoma this year. I feel like they could come down early.
Can I say something as well about Oklahoma, but Oklahoma State?
Okay.
I think that they could do a little something. I think that's a little Cinderella in my opinion. They've been doing pretty good just this far alone, and they've had a pretty stiff competition, but you have Staley Hurd as one of their best players, having like 16 points a game, and then her rebounds are insane as well. So I really think that they're not someone to sleep on either.
Oklahoma State are super talented, but they're so inexperienced. And their first round draw, South Dakota State, that is a team that wins consistently. And they have so many seniors where I struggle to pick Oklahoma State against that kind of senior team. I feel they're going to make mistakes that game that'll cause them to lose, I think. But definitely a talented team.
So I got to agree with John again. I actually did take South Dakota State for the upset here. Obviously, Oklahoma State, yes, I think they can be a team that we shouldn't count out. But like he said, I just feel like the experience of South Dakota State, their consistency, to me, that's my Cinderella pick. How we feeling?
My Cinderella is Murray State, personally.
Okay.
I love Murray State. They're the best offense in the country. But like they score 88 points per game. It's insane. Now they allow like 77 or something like that. But listen, it's all about just scoring more than your opponent. All right, that's how you win basketball games at the end of the day. So I think Murray State could go on a run. It's just going to be about if the lack of defense comes back to bite them or not. And so that's just going to be something that's going to remain to be seen. If they play a team like Oklahoma in the round of 32, I mean, Oklahoma is not a fantastic offensive team. So, maybe they can outscore Oklahoma and make it to the Sweet 16, see what happens.
I mean, you're thinking that they get past Iowa.
Yeah.
Hold
and that's
on.
the thing.
Would you hold on? Hannah Stolke's game has improved astronomically. Watching her last year, whenever they made the national championship, her finishing, her hands have always been really, really good. Whenever I've been watching film of Hannah Stolke, her hands and her body positioning have been really, really good. But her finishing was not the best among a lot of the bigs. And yes, we were comparing her to Cardoso and Reese all at the same time. And as well as, oh my gosh, Stanford.
Cameron Brink.
Brink, yeah, sorry about that. But all those bigs at the same time. Now Hannah Stolke's taken that next step in finishing at the rim, and her shot just looks a lot cleaner. So going up against Murray State, these are two teams with a high pace, that play relatively, they can't score the same pace as Murray State, but they play the same method of basketball, and I don't even think Murray State makes it out of the first round.
If we get Villanova and Lucy Olson, definitely not.
Yeah, so I gotta say, I thought long and hard about Murray State. I'm gonna be honest. I was contemplating last night. I was up. I'm like, where do I go here? And I thought about it, but one woman came into my mind, and that was Hannah Stolke. For me, Caitlin Clark, obviously not there anymore. I don't see Iowa making that kind of deep run, but I think that the improvement she's shown, she's learned so much, just still as a young player, and I think that it's going to be just enough to get Iowa past. How are you guys feeling?
Earlier this region, we were talking about how talented it is at the top, but I think we were sleeping on the mid-majors a little bit. We talked about Murray State. We talked about South Dakota State. I'm picking Fairfield as my Cinderella. They have the best mid-major coach in the country, Carly Thibault-Dudana. She is basketball royalty with her dad being a GM for a WNBA team. But they are a tough team, one of the best defenses in the country. They are mega efficient. I think they're going to get stops, make threes, and that's a winning formula. I think they're going to go to the Sweet 16. I see them beating Kentucky, and I see them beating Kansas State with Ayoka Lee injured.
That's a lot. That's really all I have to say.
I got the Cal Golden Bears. They got two players with 93s this season. We've seen it in past March Madness that if you're hot beyond the arc, you're able to take your team far. So really, if the Cal Golden Bears can really just stay hot, come in hot, I have them at least winning the first round of 32.
They're going to have some tough competition with Mississippi State. It's going to be a good game to watch. I'm not saying that they're not going to win, but it's going to be a tough game.
It might be the best 8-9 game in the whole bracket.
Yeah.
But I mean, in Cinderella terms, after they maybe get past Mississippi State, they have to play USC. So that's what makes it hard for me to pick them as a Cinderella.
Yeah, Yeah, like, you beat Mississippi State, and then you get to meet Juju Watkins.
Yeah.
So
Like,
really, did
great
you actually
reward.
win?
So this is one where all of the Cinderella talk is really nice, guys, but like there's a fairy godmother controlling all of it, okay, and it's
Yes.
UConn. I'm telling you. They have the third least opponent points per game. They only allow on average 57.1 points per game. So we just talked about, we literally went down the line: Iowa, Murray State, Oklahoma State, San Diego.
I'll even
or,
throw out
excuse me,
Liberty.
South
I'll even
Dakota.
throw out Liberty.
My God, Liberty. All of that gets shut down by
Yes.
the UConn defense. I mean, some of these teams might not even get to see UConn. Murray State.
Hey.
Might not even get to see UConn. And once you run up against UConn with Gino and their winning mentality, their defense is extremely good. They got the best player on the planet.
And they have Azzy Fudd coming back to freshman form after the rough injury sophomore and junior year. This is the best UConn team we've seen in maybe a decade even. I mean,
I mean, easily that big three. That big three is pretty much going to be, like, in my opinion, the team to beat in the tournament, aside from USC. And if we're being honest, I mean, USC UConn's the matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, I think whoever wins USC UConn, they're winning the tournament.
Wow. And I think I got to agree. Because
Yeah.
like you said, Nash, we've talked about the Cinderellas, and I think that there's a lot of teams that have that opportunity. But can we all agree that it's USC, UConn in the Elite Eight?
absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I don't think it turns out any other way.
But I also want to bring this up. Do you think with how powerful this region is, do you think that maybe these top teams like USC, UConn, OU end up getting gassed by the time they reach the Final Four?
That could definitely be something. If you look at a South Carolina or if you look at that kind of region, they're going to have an easier walk. They're going to be more rested when you get to the Final Four. That could definitely be something. But with how talented USC and UConn are, and the next region we'll get to more teams in a very talented region, I think that the town will win out in the end just because of how many great players they have.
Going back to another bracket that we just talked about, I mean, talking a little bit more on Harvard, Michigan State. Like, what you explained in a layman's terms is just pretty much what you said. You know what I'm saying? Harvard comes in absolutely blistering hot. They played their game just, I believe, 6 or 7 days ago, a week ago. Michigan State hadn't played since, I believe, the 2nd or the 7th of March.
Yeah.
So, easier road, sure. But do you want to be extremely hot winning these extremely contested games going into the Final Four? Or would you rather waltz into it and then have to face Thanos, like, as soon as you're going?
Yeah.
Kenzie, I know you're thinking about South Carolina. I mean, you're looking at all of these and you're thinking about South Carolina. So which matchup do you think is better for South Carolina, UConn or USC?
That's a really good question. I want to see Juju play South Carolina. I just think that just her talent level at the age that she is, like, oh my gosh, it's going to be such a good game. So I want that to happen, but it's going to be tough to get rid of UConn. It's going to be extremely tough for USC.
So tough, I don't think you can do it.
If I was
really
a South
don't.
Carolina fan, I would not want to see Juju against my team. I'll say that. I would not want to see what she
Yeah,
does.
could you believe that? Yeah, wait, actually, yes, freeze in on that. You said you
okay.
want to see Juju watch.
I'm avoiding
Well, the
that
story would be
for
fun.
all
I
I
want
care.
us to
I
have
want
good
Juju.
competition.
That's
Like,
fair.
we run over everybody. Let's get some good stuff.
Yeah, so-
I mean, in her defense, the choice is USC or UConn.
Yeah,
I think
and
I'd
that's-
rather see
and
USC
that's exactly
than
it. So I want to hear.
So-
We got to wrap in just a minute. So I want to hear one word. Go down the lines. You start us off, Adam. USC. I mean, yes, USC or UConn.
UConn.
All right.
UConn.
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 USC.
Okay, Ian.
UConn.
And I got to say UConn too. I think that's my pick to probably go all the way. But there's 2 more teams in this next bracket that might have something to say about that, and we're going to talk about that coming up next.
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike! My bike is gone!
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
Looking to open a free checking or savings account but don't know where to start? Check out DatQ Credit Union right here on campus. Get your Mean Green debit card instantly or apply for a DatQ Visa credit card today. Your school, your card. Plus, make deposits at their 24/7 ATM, checks or cash whenever you need it. Make sure to sign up for DatQ's online banking platform and mobile app for easy access anytime, anywhere. Visit them at www.datq.org to learn more. DatQ, the official financial institution of UNT Athletics.
Hey you! Yeah, you. Tax day is right around the corner, and the IRS has free resources to help you. Just visit their website or contact our volunteer income tax program at 800-906-9887. You don't want the IRS knocking at your door. Whew, I guess it's too late for you. Pay now or pay later with interest. File your taxes.
Welcome back to our Sports Zone March Madness special. I'm your host, Steven Lucero, and we have one more region to talk about, and that's Spokane 4. This is a region where we just got finished with the last one. That was pretty tough to beat, but this one, I think if there's another region that has something to say about it, it's this one. Texas, well represented, Texas, TCU. We got a lot going on here, but it's stacked. How are you guys feeling about this region?
I mean, yeah, 3 legit national contenders. I mean, you have Texas, TCU, and Notre Dame. I think 3 teams that have the star power. They have the depth. They have the performance this season. They have everything you're looking for in a contender. And we'll get into it more, but any of those teams could win the region for sure.
This is definitely one of those where just talking about what we were talking about literally 30 seconds ago about do you want to get there and you're gassed. This is the one, UConn and USC's, sure. Like, yes, you'll get to the end of that, and you'll be hyped that you beat so many good opponents. You'll get to the end of this one, and these teams are going to be bum exhausted by the time they make it out of their own conference, by the time they make it out of their own side of the bracket.
Ultimately, I have Texas winning just because Notre Dame has been in a slump recently. Madison Booker, I think she's going to carry Texas all the way. Well, not all the way, but, through the region.
Yeah, Madison Booker is great, and Notre Dame has been in that slump, but when you have Hannah Hidalgo, Sonia Citrone, and Olivia Miles, it's hard to bet against those 3. I mean, for 3 guards, you can't get better than that. Hannah Hidalgo, one of the best playmakers in the country. Olivia Miles, probably the 2nd best playmaker in the country. When you have that kind of talent, I think Notre Dame and Texas are both strong contenders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a lot of contenders, and I mean, we got to talk about TCU, right? What Haley Van Lith has been able to do transferring over there and just transforming that program.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's been absolutely incredible the way they've just stormed through the Big 12. It's been excellent what they've done, and I mean, we saw the highlights. It's not even close what they've been able to do through that competition. Obviously, there's some SEC teams in here that are going to have something to say with that. But how are you guys feeling about TCU and their chances to make a deep run?
I mean, more than just Haley Van Lith, obviously she's incredible. But they're just a well-rounded team. Like, if you just go onto ESPN stat page and just sort it and just look what the top 10 is and, like, everything, it's like field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, turning the ball over not very often, right? They don't give the ball away, right? They're just very efficient. And so I think they're going to – just the well-roundedness of that team is really what's going to carry them through to the Final Four, in my opinion. I think they're going to take this side of the bracket.
I really like TCU. They have Haley Van Lith. They have Sedona Prince, controversial, we haven't mentioned yet. But ultimately, they've gotten into a lot of shootouts against these middling Big 12 teams that I don't like. They've gotten into shootouts with Kansas, with Houston, teams that aren't very good. And seeing them go win by 5 and an 80-75 win against them, when they face a Madison Booker or Notre Dame offense, that scares me a lot in the postseason. I think ultimately when they face those elite teams, it'll just be too much offense to handle for TCU.
I think that's a good point because TCU, we've seen them in their ability to score, ability to shoot threes, and really just put up all the highlights you can imagine.
Absolutely.
But I think, like you said, the defense is the one thing that concerns me. How are you guys feeling about TCU's ability to defend some of these top teams like Texas or Notre Dame?
I apologize, but
oh, wow, we're
but
really.
I need to speak.
But honestly, I think TCU is a 2 seed that kind of flounders out in the Sweet 16.
Wow,
That's crazy.
That's a hot take right there.
Yeah, I feel like TCU because TCU I believe would meet Notre Dame in the Sweet 16, and I think that's where it ends. I like TCU. I like Van Lith. I like Prince, but I don't see it. I'm sorry. I just can't.
Oh, okay. And then, and then 10 players of the 14 are transfer. Yes, they've been gelling throughout the regular season, but when it gets in the playoffs, when those moments are really slow and you have to really be communicative on that side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, where we're talking about struggling, I don't think they go far, especially beating out Notre Dame.
Absolutely agree. And honestly, even outside of Notre Dame, if they face an Audi Crooks on Iowa State, she could give them serious problems. She is a bucket inside, and their defense could not handle her. Sedona Prince versus Audi Crooks, I give that to Audi Crooks.
So let's go to that then. You think that Notre Dame could be eliminated by Iowa State?
Did you say that? Not Notre Dame, no, TCU. TCU could be eliminated by Iowa State. For
TCU
sure.
But then what does that mean? That means that Iowa State has to beat Notre Dame.
Iowa State can't be Notre Dame. If by some miracle Hannah Hidalgo, Sonia Citron, and Olivia Miles tear their ACLs, then Iowa State could pass, and then they could beat. That's how good Notre Dame is, and how low I am on TCU. Even teams that can't beat Notre Dame at all could beat TCU.
Wow, you're just coming up with like parallel timelines that never happened ever, and would still beat the.
The ultimate hypothetical user.
Yeah.
One more thing I'd like to note on TCU is that Haley Van Lith is historically at her best in the tournament. Right?
Yes.
She on her career, she's averages 18 on 48% shooting in the tournament. I think that's got to be said. She's done it historically.
She's great in the tournament, but we've seen her against those elite teams. When she was on Louisville, she didn't have the supporting pieces. Now she has better supporting pieces, but she struggled in those elite matchups. And I wonder if, because her playmaking, she's not a playmaker. She is a bucket. So when she's not scoring, when her shot's not going down, she can struggle to make an impact on the game. So I think that we could really see that happen this year.
Yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, go ahead, Adam.
When it does come to tournaments like these, like you mentioned earlier in the first block, those star players, they can be the difference maker. You know, those last 5 minutes are where the magic happens, and that's where the star player needs to show out.
Yeah, and that's where Haley Van Lith shines the most. And one matchup I just wanted to mention is there's real good potential about LSU. I mean, not LSU. Her other former team, Louisville, being a matchup in the second round.
I missed the mark by just
I know,
that much.
right
like
there.
A 3-pong,
as
like,
I'm staring at
and
it,
you just threw it
and
in.
they're just, I know, right?
TCU,
But I think that's a really interesting sort of maybe revenge game a little bit. How are you guys feeling about that potential matchup?
I think that's going to be a great game to watch. I've been thinking about it like ever since I saw that was a potential. So I think that she's going to want to get there, and when she gets there, she's going to want to win. Like, no doubt about it.
I also think Louisville wants to get there. They
Oh,
want
for
to show.
sure.
They want to show Haley Van Lith. We could have won. We could have been
yeah.
this program you're turning around. You didn't have to go to TCU to do this, and I think they want to show her that.
Yeah, I think any team in the tournament wants to advance to the next round. For sure.
There's that little extra though. There's that little extra
Huge take.
compassion, you know. That little extra passion with that rivalry, you know. Like a Duke UNC game, like we talked about earlier. You think they want to go to the next round the exact same amount as every other team? I'll tell you no.
You think that teams really need any extra pressure in March Madness?
I don't think they need it, but I think that just that little extra oomph can be what sometimes it takes just to get you over that top, over the
pressure
top,
makes
on to the
diamonds.
next round. It happens.
Shine, right?
Think about it like this, right? If you're like in a heated tournament, would you rather just beat some random guy, or would you rather beat someone that you don't like?
Yeah, that's the thing, and I think that even beyond just that matchup, the momentum you're able to gain and carry going forward. And here, I mean, we got to talk about Texas too. This team has been incredible all season long. We'll see. Maybe it's TCU, maybe it's Notre Dame, but it feels like Texas is just gonna be there. Do you guys agree?
Yes, 100%. Texas is in their own like universe, just away from everybody. You know, I want to relate this to like Game of Thrones.
Okay.
You know?
Go ahead.
Like
Game of Thrones reference.
everybody is beefing in King's Landing at the same time. And oh my gosh, what's her name?
Right there.
No,
The
okay,
dartboard is right there.
Sorry. The Dragon is just in her own universe for like 6 seasons in a row. Dragonair. I forget what her name is. But anyway, Daenerys Targaryen. Okay, I know it. But Daenerys Targaryen is doing her own storyline for 5 seasons, and then she gets to King's Landing by the time it's all dead. That's what Texas is going to do with this, honestly.
That top half of the bracket has some upset potential. I think you see Montana State, a really strong mid-major. I don't think they pull it out. Same with USF over Tennessee. Tennessee has a first-year head coach at the Power 5 level, and USF is a consistent tournament team that wins games. That experience scares me a little. I don't think either of those upsets happen, but Ohio State and Tennessee are both weaker 4 to 5 seeds for me. Texas definitely crushes them in the next rounds.
Yep, certainly. And we have so much here. I mean, it just feels like the Cinderellas in this one. I'm not seeing it as much. I thought about Montana State too.
I am on Montana State.
Are you? I want to hear it because I thought about it, but let's hear
That
it.
upset's going to happen. They've got 30 wins in the Big Sky. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Big Sky. The biggest thing to draw away from Montana State is their strength of schedule. Okay. There's only, if you take all of the teams in March Madness this year, they are bottom 3 in terms of the strength of schedule. It's them, I believe it's South Dakota, and then one more.
Probably William and Mary or something.
Sure. Yeah. So their strength of schedule is not there. But still, it takes a lot to win 30 games in your own. Yes, in Creighton. It takes, Creighton's 72nd in the strength of schedule. But it takes a lot to win 30 games in your own conference, win your own conference. We just saw a great game winner happen in the game Montana State versus the Montana Grizz.
Yes.
That was spectacular. So now they're coming into this one. They're as hot as any team in this entire thing. And Ohio State is just not that hot coming into this game.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's going to majorly flop them, just like Harvard and Michigan State.
It has all the makings of an upset, I agree, but then you look at Ohio State and you see that they press teams. Mid-majors, I struggle to see how they handle the press for the first time. And you see Cody McMahon, she's big, and Montana State doesn't really have the size to match up with her. And I think Cody McMahon will take over that game to make ultimately that not matter. But Montana State is very, very talented, I agree.
So I'm really banking on Notre Dame to just keep going on that slump because I have one of the hottest teams in the country, Stephen F. Austin, as my Cinderella run. I mean, they've won 15 games in a row, 29 games overall. They have 5 players averaging double digits. That's just not easy to do in the NCAA. So if they could go over there and beat Notre Dame, I mean, I think they could go a bit far.
I don't think any of them can score on Hannah Hidalgo or Olivia Miles. I mean,
like here's the thing. I respect the take. I see where you're coming from, but you have to beat Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, they haven't been playing good, you know.
And a 14 seed has never won a first-round game.
It's almost like playing like a reverse
Stephen F. Austin
train.
is not your normal 14 seed. That's what I'm trying to say.
Fair enough.
You're playing your national championship in the first round.
Every game's a national championship when you're in the NCAA
That
tournament.
motivation we were talking about.
I mean, yeah, motivation, and also to actually feed on both y'all's points about these like about these lower seed teams is they are scrappy and they always have something to prove.
Absolutely.
And also the other thing with these small teams, everyone forgets, they have nothing to lose because who cares if Stephen F. Austin loses to Notre Dame? It doesn't matter because it was expected. Who cares if Montana State loses to Ohio State because it was expected?
Yeah, I've got a lot of belief in these teams in the round of 64, but like we were talking about earlier, I mean, you just got to meet UConn and USC eventually in your own bracket. These teams have to meet Texas. Okay, Texas is winning this side of it, and I don't feel like there's any way around it.
I'm not saying they're going to win the region, but maybe win a game or two.
Cinderella's.
I do think it's interesting. I want Illinois to lose to Creighton.
Okay.
Really bad. Really
bad.
Because like Creighton is a good team, and you look all around it, like especially the teams that they've played this year alone, they lose, but guess who they lose to? UConn. Not once, not twice, but 3 times because they had to play them 3 times. So they're used to playing these upper echelon, top tier teams.
Florida State twice this season.
So like, I really think that if like we're talking about an upset, I think Illinois is going to lose. I'm not saying like they're going to end it there, like Texas is going to beat them after that, but I think that Illinois is going to lose.
I like Creighton, but in every game against the tournament team, they kind of struggled. South Dakota State, even they played and lost to. I mean, they're not really that top team.
They give me very heavy vibes of like as soon as they go up against a big, just ranked team in general, they fall out of it.
Absolutely.
You know, like as soon as they go up against somebody that's not ranked, sure, they'll mollywop them. But
So
like,
Illinois, I could see them beating
yeah,
Illinois.
going down their whole season,
No.
as soon as they face a big pressure opponent, I don't know if they're there. So
They're
like,
going to end it like
do I want
immediately
Creighton to do it? Yeah. Do I think they can? I think Illinois can lock it in for 1 game.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of the story, once again, of this region, where it's like, yeah, I think I could see a Cinderella for a round, maybe 2. But when we get to the end of it, guys, who do you think goes to the Final Four?
I mean, I got to stay bullish on TCU.
All right.
I'm standing on TCU.
All right. Kenzie?
I got to go with Texas. I really do. And if not Texas, I'm going to like be crazy and say Notre Dame.
I got Texas, as in Texas Christian University.
Okay.
Amen, brother.
You got the purple.
There's no way. There's literally no way that anything else could happen. Yeah, Haley Van Lith is just going to score 50. She'll have the career high in points scored in an Elite Eight game.
Sedona Prince's vibes will take TCU down very early, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah?
And I got to go with Notre Dame. They're too talented.
The Irish.
I got Texas with Madison Booker and what she's been able to do with her supporting cast. I got Texas.
This is the only time you're ever going to see me do this. Hook 'em.
Yeah.
I got Texas.
Yep, and I just got to say that I have Texas Christian University.
Yes.
I'm with you, Nat. I'm sorry. I think that Texas and TCU will meet in the Elite Eight. I think it's going to be an incredible matchup, but I just think that in this matchup, the superstar wins, and I think that Haley Van Lith makes it happen, gets her ultimate, kind of tour finished off here. I think she might have a little bit of trouble once we get into the Final Four, but I think that TCU makes it out of this region. So thank you guys for watching this show. I think we really had a lot of fun here, wouldn't you guys say?
Not at all.
I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah.
what did we even talk about?
I don't know. Like,
first
there's just so
hour.
much going on.
No,
but-
man, this was such a great thing.
Just a blast.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it was incredible, and I thank you guys so much for watching. It's going to be incredible to watch how all of this unfolds on Saturday.
Yep.
The Women's March Madness, we're in for a really good show this year. It's going to be exciting. So thank you guys so much for watching our show. Make sure to follow us on our social medias at NTTV Sports, and stay tuned for NTTV Nightly News.
Go UConn.
UConn. Paige Beckers.